What will it take to create a world without hunger and without food waste? Before the pandemic, we saw positive momentum on many measures. Food security was slowly improving, and we were sending less food to landfills. Then, COVID-19 turned these trends upside down. It also triggered record donations to national and local nonprofits, and we're so thankful for all who pitched in to help our communities. I am personally grateful to serve as president of the Kroger Company Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation during this incredibly difficult time. Thanks to our leaders a few years ago, this new foundation was well positioned to provide funding and support when and where it was needed most. During 2020, just our second year, the Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation directed more than $16 million to our communities, with over 360 grants to nonprofit partners across 35 states. Today, as you know, our neighbors and communities need us more than ever before. But the systems from 10, 20, and 50 years ago may not be able to solve the complex problems the pandemic has exposed. There are points of light and heroes all around us. I think of the team at ReFed, who recently introduced their new data-centered insights engine to power our collective food waste reduction journey. And Imperfect Foods, which scaled their e-commerce platform to recover more surplus food for at-risk seniors and others who needed to stay home last year. And when restaurants and hospitality and entertainment venues closed their doors, some super smart students from Stanford and Brown created FarmLink, helping growers find a home for surplus produce in their fields. We all need better insights, big ideas, and bold solutions. It will truly take all of us to create a more efficient, inclusive, and resilient food system. This drive for systemic change is happening just when we see a resurging focus on environmental and social issues like climate change, packaging and plastics in the environment, a growing global population, and so much more. Tackling these really hard problems requires commitment and capital, grants and investments to fuel the transition to a more sustainable future. In my role as a Kroger leader, I focus on sustainability and social impact, on achieving positive outcomes for individuals, for families, and for our communities. Every day, I'm reminded of the complexity of our global food system. But I'm also really motivated by the incredible opportunity for change. We can and we will apply new insights, systems, and technologies to meet this challenge and achieve solutions that have eluded us in the past. As a food company and family of nearly 500,000 associates, Kroger is especially determined to deliver on our brand promise, fresh for everyone. For us, this means improving access to affordable, healthy food that helps people thrive. More than 3 years ago, we introduced our Zero Hunger, Zero Waste plan to create communities free of hunger and waste. At the time, we acknowledged that we couldn't do it alone and that we didn't have all the answers. This is still true, yet the pandemic has increased the urgency to achieve our mission. As a foundation, we're convening groups like this one to help reinvent food systems, to engage and support startups, and to lift up underrepresented and often overlooked voices who have solutions and a huge stake in our shared success. A key pillar of our plan is innovation. The Foundation's signature initiative is a $10 million innovation fund, which directs philanthropic capital to social entrepreneurs on a mission to fight food waste. In 2019, we awarded $1 million in grants to 7 innovators through our first open call. These are the amazing teams at Food Forest, Imperfect Foods, Mobius, Replate, Ripe Revival, Seal the Seasons, and Winnow. These innovators are driving solutions to prevent, recover, or recycle surplus food. Last year, in the midst of the pandemic, the foundation also directed follow-on funding to some of these companies so they could rapidly scale their solutions and help feed more families in need. Our sincere thanks to these leaders for your partnership and for what you've been able to accomplish in such a short time. It's simply remarkable. So now, we are excited to host our second Innovation Fund Open Call. We're doing this in collaboration with Village Capital, who are experts in impact investing and startup seed funding. As we all know, COVID-19 triggered many economic impacts on big and small businesses. Despite increased investment in food systems throughout the pandemic, grant funding and accelerator and incubator activity actually declined 50% last year. So let's change that. Grants are critical now because they can support startups while they solidify their proof of concept, develop a customer base, and demonstrate results, all before turning to investors for equity financing. When paired with training and support, grant capital for early-stage ag tech innovators is an important lever for building investment momentum this year and beyond. Recall that our first 7 portfolio companies received a total of $1 million in grants. These startups collectively turned that into over $80 million in seed and early-stage venture capital funding. That's incredible. Today, we're determined to do even more in our second open call. So we connected with Village Capital to ask, where is the biggest gap in philanthropic investment to end food waste? Together, we landed on this answer: upcycled foods. You may wonder, what are upcycled foods? Or why focus on this? The reality is, unharvested crops are the biggest contributor to surplus food, with nearly 21 million tons wasted annually. Because most shoppers expect perfect produce on our shelves, some imperfect items may go to waste if they don't quite meet quality specs for retail. Some food processors buy imperfect produce to create juices, soups, condiments, and more, and we love that. Yet trimmings and other byproducts generate nearly 10 million tons of waste just from processing. That's our linear food system, the make, use, dispose model, and it offers very few opportunities to reintegrate unused but still edible food back into the supply chain. We want to change that by helping create a more circular model. Circular models promote using resources as long as possible, extracting the maximum value and then recovering them at the end of their useful lives to make new products and materials. Upcycled food is the next frontier in recovering and repurposing surplus food that might otherwise go to waste. Some food byproducts could make new foods or even non-food items. We believe additional grant funding can play a big part in making that happen. On behalf of the Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation, we encourage ag tech innovators out there to apply for business support and funding totaling $2.5 million in Innovation Fund grants. The application deadline is April 1st. Your ideas should promote a business model that sources surplus food or food byproducts and manufactures them into new consumer-facing products. The foundation team, our partners at Village Capital, and the Innovation Fund's advisory committee members will review applications and select 10 startups. Each startup will receive $100,000 in upfront seed funding, totaling an initial $1 million investment. Given the incredible need that we see in our communities, not only for food, but also for equity and justice, we're also improving our decision-making process. Beyond the merits of the idea or solution, we're also considering our applicants' commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion on 3 levels. First, the leadership team's composition and lived experience. Second, their business model and ecosystem. And third, the potential benefits of the solution for underserved communities and underrepresented voices, so we can help build a more equitable food system from farm to table. As a foundation, we believe there is an intersection of food security and equity. And we also believe in the power of food as medicine to help shore up communities so everyone can thrive. We also know there is a need for business support and mentorship. So, after the initial funding phase, the grantees in our second cohort will participate in a virtual workshop focused on investment readiness, technical skill development, and networking with a community of investors and mentors in and around the food system. These innovators will have exclusive access to the foundations and Village Capital's leaders and our partners, as well as the option to apply for follow-on funding. At that stage, each innovator is also eligible for an additional $100,000 grant as they achieve program milestones. And there's more. At the end of a 6-month development period, 2 startups will be selected by their peers for an opportunity to receive an additional $250,000 in funding. We're incredibly excited about this second round of funding and the path forward. To review the Innovation Fund grant program and submit an application, please go to zerohunger.zerowastefoundation.org. Together, let's use our collective energy to create a much brighter, more sustainable, and more equitable food system and future for everyone.